Welcome to another edition of Investor Talk Radio. I'm your host and founder, Kurt Davis, and I've got Michael Hayes with me today. Michael, thank you for coming in.
Oh, no problem. It's been a while.
It has been a while. A lot of things have happened. We were actually recording this so that we can put this on the podcast and also put it on places like YouTube, social media, things like that. I was actually listening to the first podcast that you and I did.
Right, 2015.
4.5 years ago, and I can't believe it's been that long.
Yeah.
And I listened to it again yesterday, just so I can kind of, see how that one went. And it was really interesting to listen to it, because when you think about it, there's nothing super exciting about it. But I'm excited for this one because you're the first person that I've done a re-interview like this to kind of see where are we now.
Right.
So 4.5 years later, things are still going a lot better than when you started.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Now, for the people who are listening and watching, if you want to download other podcasts we're on iTunes. It's Investor Talk Radio on iTunes. You can download it. You can also check us out on YouTube at Real Estate Wealth Coaching and Facebook. So find us, like us, subscribe, let us know what you think. So now, tell us just a little bit about yourself before real estate.
Man, before real estate, it's kind of hard to even imagine before real estate because
it was so long ago.
Yeah, well, that too. But I was kind of born into real estate. My sister, she owns a brokerage. So even when I was, I want to say 18, 19, I was familiar with it, but really just jumping into it. I mean, that came a lot later. Actually, when I met you was when I really got deep into like the wholesale side. But before that, college graduate. Degree in business and finance. After that, did absolutely nothing with the degree. So I think my first job like out of college was at Lowe's. And then after a while I got tired of throwing manure around. So
nice.
Yeah. Next thing up for me was Regions. Didn't really see that going anywhere. So I spent quite a while traveling. So I spent some time like in Costa Rica, Dominican Republic, and France, but that was kind of during my college days too. But at some point I was just like, okay, it's time to do something. Joined Memphis Investors Group, met you, and here we are today.
Now, listening to the old podcast, and I don't want to I don't want to jump back and forth too much because
right.
I'm hoping that someone who listens to this, if I've mentioned that we interviewed you essentially when you were brand new at real estate, I'd like for them to go back and listen to that one and listen to this now. But did you not own some property already essentially before? Weren't you kind of like a landlord before?
Right. Before that, I owned 3 or 4 properties. I had one fix and flip that I did during the time. Took that money, bought a couple of buy and holds. Didn't really know as much then as I know now, so ended up selling those for it was like maybe break even. Bought a condo that didn't go too well. It was in a terrible part of town. So after that's kind of when I started doing my traveling. And then
Now, how did you get started in real estate? What kind of, obviously you owned some property and you sold it, but what really kind of happened leading up to the point that you really started to take a serious interest in wanting to do real estate investing?
Right. I think I've always had a serious interest. Like I said, going back as far as I can remember, I just really never knew how to get into it. And then I joined the Memphis Investors Group. I'm not even sure how I got, knew or learned about the Memphis Investors Group, but I ended up there. Didn't know anything what they were talking about, ARV and all these other terms. I'm like, I don't know what's
foreign
going on.
Language.
Yeah, it was really like a foreign language, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going on, but I need to be around more people like this. And eventually, like I said, you're the reason that I got into the wholesale side of it. I guess the more or less the beginner avenue for a lot of people who don't have a lot of money and everything. I was like, okay, this is look like it fits me. I don't have a lot of money right now, so let me try this out. Went to the class, and then that's more or less where it started to get serious.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Now, from the time that you started going to MIG, obviously your network, MIG is a big networking organization,
right.
education, things like that. how long until you, I don't know if did something is the
Yeah,
right
yeah.
way to put it, but like, so you start going to MIG.
Right.
What would be the first kind of a milestone for you? When did things start to happen?
So, and this is what I tell people a lot. So, if you're going to do it, don't get, I guess, analysis paralysis is what they call
Yes.
it. They try to get as much information as possible. But after I took your class, I think I had my entire business set up within a couple of weeks, and I was putting out signs and doing the driving for dollars, where you're just going around looking for vacant houses. And then I found a house with a for sale by owner sign. Called them up. Didn't really know what I was doing, but I was like, okay, hey, it's now or never. So, got that one under contract, and the owner, he was kind of familiar with how the process works, so he was willing to work with me. And it's crazy because when I was walking through his house, and this is one reason I don't really go into attics now. It's a crazy story.
I can't
but
wait to hear this.
I went upstairs, and he had like this super narrow walkway to, I think it was like the hot water tank. And I was walking, and then we were sitting there on this walkway, just talking about the condition of the house and everything
In the attic.
in the attic. And I stepped back right on the insulation, and I almost fell through the ceiling. But he caught me at the last minute. I was like, okay, yeah, that could have went really bad. But like I said, he worked with me. I think he pretty much knew I was kind of new to the game.
This
but
was your first deal.
the very first deal, yeah. And sent it out. It was kind of, I didn't really have any good buying prospects for that particular house, but I did end up getting it sold. I want to say 2 months later. It was around 2 months later, and it was like $1,500 profit.
That's a pretty patient owner.
Yeah, he was patient, but I think at the time he really didn't have too many other options or too many other people that he wanted to work with, and he was a guy that owned quite a few houses anyway, so he wasn't, I guess, really too picky about the time frame on that house.
Sure.
Yeah.
$1,500 profit.
Right.
Not a lot, but not a little either.
Yeah, it was a milestone.
Now, what were some of the struggles that you had in the beginning? I know that you just mentioned a second ago,
Right.
Buyers. For anybody new, I guess you could say
Yeah.
not having a huge buyers list is
Right.
a natural struggle. But what else? What else did you remember?
At the time, time. So I was still teaching then, and I mean, I maximized the time during my day. I was teaching during the day, putting out signs starting like 4 o'clock in the morning until it was time for me to come home, take a shower, talk. Spent a lot of work time answering phone calls that I probably shouldn't have been doing, but hey, it is what it is. And even after that, going on appointments, putting out more signs, and time was the biggest thing, I would say.
I'm glad that you mentioned that, just because time is probably one of the biggest excuses
Right.
that people use
Yeah,
to not do anything.
exactly. But yeah, I had to make time because I knew what my goal was on it. So yeah, I definitely made the time for
So
it.
you're working Monday through Friday. Let's call it 7 to 3.
Right,
You're
right.
married. Your wife's Alicia, right?
Right.
So you're hustling. You're
Oh, yeah.
jamming. How did she feel about all this when this was going on? Was she upset? Was she supportive?
She was supportive. She's always been supportive, and like you said, she's in it full time too now, so she understands the time commitment of it. But going out, and I know Rico Smith. He
Yeah.
tells a story about him and Cali, how he was out early in the mornings putting out signs, and
Oh,
she was
yeah?
like, "Hey, where are you going this early in the morning?" Kind of getting suspicious. So I always thought that was kind of funny, but she's always been supportive. Yeah, she's gone out with me a few times to put out signs, help me with my marketing.
Now, starting off, you're new.
Right.
Essentially, you started learning wholesaling, correct?
Right.
When you first got started, how important was education to your business, to the growth? From say, for example, you mentioned MIG, Memphis Investors Group, and anybody listening or watching here in the Memphis area, MIG, Memphis Investors Group, is the local real estate association here. It's really the only real estate association here. So you obviously became a member, started
Right.
going to the monthly meetings. I wrote down here, were you active at the time on Bigger Pockets?
Bigger Pockets, I'm pretty sure I was at the time. Yeah, between MIG and Bigger Pockets, that was kind of like my networking go-to for
Sure.
networking and meeting new people. So
Sure. Now, a shameless plug for my coaching business. You signed up for
Right,
my coaching.
right.
You were brand new.
yeah,
And I'm going to tell you, the program has changed
I've heard.
drastically. But from someone who did take a coaching class, it wasn't a $40,000. Let's
Right,
increase
right.
your credit card limit so that you can purchase my course. It was very low cost. But how did an actual course like that help you, at least from the beginning?
I mean, it was very valuable. Like I said, that's really where I got my start, going from not really knowing anything about the business to, after I took the course, I pretty much had everything that I needed to get set up and just go with it. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's one of those things where if you get the knowledge, you got to use it. So
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's like
yeah.
it's like any coaching program. It's like they all technically work,
right,
but
exactly.
you have to make it work.
Right. And
Yeah.
I've known people to go through some of these courses and then they just never do anything with it. So
Obviously, aside from those, anything else that you're currently doing? Any type of additional education or tools or books, anything like that that you find valuable?
yeah, man, books. The book Traction, and that was a recommendation from my friend Dan Butler. Definitely a game changer because it really helps you to, I guess, systemize the business. And I had gone, several months where I really didn't have any systems in place. But after reading that book, I mean, we're me and my assistant. I put her on, just doing different goals for myself for the week. So
Do you have a virtual assistant?
I do, yeah.
How's that working out?
Man, she's great. She could more or less run the business herself if it wasn't for me needing to go on the appointments.
Sure.
And even with that, I'm trying to make some changes, bring on somebody else because.
And it's funny
Yeah.
that you mentioned that because I saw your advertisement on Facebook looking for
Yeah.
like you want to bring somebody onto the team.
Right, it's time now. I'm getting to the point where I'm trying to focus on the rehabs. Currently doing one now, and hopefully, if things go well, we'll be closing on another one this week or next week. It's some title stuff that has to get
Love it.
cleared up, but yeah, I'm at that stage now where I really need to bring on some help.
Now, so you're teaching full time,
Mm-hmm.
you're wholesaling, you're hustling, you're slamming. When did you decide to leave teaching to do real estate full time? What was kind of when did you? I guess what I'm trying to ask is when did you know it was time?
Right.
Was teaching, was your actual teaching job, was that getting in the way of real estate? Is that how you kind of knew, or were you making enough income in real estate at that time that
Right.
it was just? I mean, you tell me.
Well, it was more so the income goal. So I had it set in my mind, and it was just a really strong, I guess, thought process and will that, hey, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I need to have saved up in my account a year's worth of what I make in the job. If I do that, I'm coming out. It's real estate full time. If I don't do it, I'm going to teach forever. I absolutely did not want to teach forever because I've seen, I guess, where teaching leads to. I mean, it's not a fun place, so would much rather hit my goal and just come into real estate full time.
So rather than like buying watches and cars
Okay, no.
and vacations, you saved your money from
Absolutely.
your real estate business to essentially create like a nest cushion
Right.
so that you can devote your time into real estate and really make it
yeah.
happen.
I mean, absolutely. Like even
Were you,
now,
were you nervous? Were you nervous leaving your teaching job?
Um,
Or hesitant?
absolutely not hesitant. Nervous. I don't think I was. I've been, like I said, been wanting to do real estate for the longest. So I was more so anxious than nervous to do it.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it
That's
is.
exciting. Now, are you still wholesaling today?
I do still do some wholesales, but like I said, I'm trying to focus on the buy and hold. And another reason why I said I'm trying to bring on somebody else to kind of take up some of that slack because I just can't do everything myself. Some of the leads I just can't get to, but I'm still doing knocking out a couple a month, one or two a month.
Wholesaling 1 or 2 a month.
Right, right. Mhm.
And then, do you currently own any buy and holds right now? Do you have a little portfolio at all?
Yes, sitting on 4 right now. One that we're currently rehabbing. Like I said, next month that should be 5, and then this goes back to setting goals. Me and my wife had a goal for 5 rehabs, so should be hitting that pretty soon.
Have you done any fix and flips yet?
Yes, and that is an entirely different story. So it's kind of one of those. If you have the time to listen to it, because it was two accidental fix and flips. I don't know if you want me to go into detail on that or not.
Lay it on us.
All right, let's go to it.
Everybody wants to listen.
Yeah,
this.
yeah. So a lot of the stuff that goes on in real estate, it can make or break you. Like it's a serious mental aspect to it. So at the time, so we did the last podcast in 2015, going into mid to late 2017, I purchased 3 houses. So they were all rehab houses. The plan was to pretty much fix for buy and holds to kind of start off the portfolio. That went completely wrong. Like, it was a terrible disaster. But we did kind of, I guess, make up for it. But basically what happened, and I learned a life lesson from this, some people will say, don't get into the business. Like if there's maybe like a boss and like a business relationship, so where one person is having to pay the other. If it's family, don't do it, because their relationship can go completely sour. And that's pretty much what happened on these 3 projects. But
so you partnered up with family on them.
Now, when I say I partnered up, I had a contractor who was family.
Okay.
And it's one of those things where you really find out who people are.
Sure.
So
sadly, because money gets involved.
Exactly. So I guess long story short, the rehabs were not done correctly at all, and half of it was my fault because I wasn't really keeping up with it. It was during a time where I was really looking for a mentor in the rehab game, somebody that had been doing rehabs and could really, kind of walk me through the process. But the deeper that we got into it, I just started to see little things like, okay, something's not right. Contractor didn't show up at the job site a couple days in a row. Messaging, hey, where's your team? We'll be there tomorrow. Okay, that's fine. Hey, we need a little bit more money to do this. Hey, we need a little bit more money to do this. I don't think we're going to be able to do this. So, and I'll ask you this, what is your average time on maybe doing a rehab, maybe like 1,200 square foot rehab?
I mean, for us, we kind of look at it from like a dollar perspective.
Right.
So, $15,000 to $20,000 rehab is roughly going to take us 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Roughly.
So we're 2 months in, and it's still not done. We're not even halfway done. And it got to the point where it's, okay, we got to talk about this. And we pretty much fell out because I had lost a bunch of money. I had to go back, completely redo my first house. I paid money up front for the second house to be done, like electrical, plumbing, HVAC that I told was being worked on. Absolutely nothing had been done other than the heating unit had been taken out. I'm pretty sure it was sold for like scrap. So it went from me trusting this person and thinking everything was going to get done to me having to really learn how to do rehabs on my own, learn the process, get another contractor, bring him in, get these things fixed up. And we got one fixed up, got it tenant occupied. The other one we were working on it. That contractor came from a good friend of mine, Arnold Dormer.
Yeah.
And eventually we had to sell both of them. The first rehab, we got a tenant in there. She flooded the house out. Baby wipes in the toilet.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's a fun time. So we replaced the floors, and now when me and my wife, long nights, sitting there thinking, it's like, okay, we got to do something else because we're losing a lot of money. So it was a super rough time, like during then, where the funds are just getting eaten up. Some of the wholesale deals, they weren't coming in the way that we needed them to keep the rehabs going, pay the lender. Was never late with my lender because I never
Sure.
wanted to burn their bridge. But it was a tough time. Eventually, we said, okay, hey, we need to go ahead and unload these two, well, actually all three. So we did make a small profit on it. We covered our costs, paid the lender off, maintained a good relationship with him. And I guess long story short, to answer your question, yes, I've done a fix and flip.
Man, now I haven't had any tragedies like that, but
Oh, yeah.
that's a learning experience, I'm sure.
It was a learning experience. Man, it was a tough time.
Now, your wife is involved in real estate now, correct?
Right.
Full time.
Full time.
Now, what did she do before real estate?
She was working at FedEx.
Okay. How did it come to a point where she wanted to leave FedEx and do real estate full time with you?
It was around that same time where we had the issue with the other rehabs. Decided to sell those off, pay off debt, but we were still at a point where it was like, okay, we just need to reset. So at the time, we were living in a live-in flip, and she had already been licensed. She was kind of doing it part-time. But she really got her first big sale with selling our house, and that's really how we just reset everything, because we bought the house in 2011 when the market was still recovering. So at the time, we bought it at like half the value of what it is now. Did probably maybe $10,000 worth of rehab in it. Sold it, and we were just sitting on like a decent stack of money. So that was her introduction, I guess, into her first real deal, was selling our house.
Sure.
And then from there, I was like, hey, it's just more of an opportunity for you to come on. Let's do business with each other, work off of each other, feed off of each other's energy. And she was like, okay, I'm going to make this leap.
So she does typical buy and sell
Right.
retail type business,
Exactly.
and she works on the investment side with you.
Exactly. So even like a week ago, I was working with a guy that had two houses, but I mean, they just weren't going to work for me as a wholesale deal, or even in an area where I wanted to do buy and hold. So the way that she came in, like, hey, I'm going to let you list these. So the leads that I can't do anything with, they go over there. So she's closed out a few of them that way.
It's great.
Yeah.
And it's working out well.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
She loves it.
Yeah.
And it gives her more
100%.
time with little Mikey, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, have you done any joint venture deals? Have you partnered with anybody on any type of business?
I have. The most that I've done has been with my friend Ben Horton. I know you.
Yeah.
You know Ben. Man, you're gonna get all the stories out of me today. So after that time, like I said, that rough time, Ben brought a deal to me that was I was kind of skeptical about, but he just has really good, I guess, intuition with the stuff that he brings. It's like, okay, I don't know if this will work, but he's confident on this stuff. So he brought this. It was a 6-unit apartment and a duplex, so 8 units in all, and he just got the things like super cheap, but they were in the hood, like deep in the hood, drugs, prostitutes, and murder. So he has this thing locked up. We're looking for a lender to fund it. But the lender that we had in mind, he was like, I'm not too sure about that area. So he didn't want to have anything to do with it. Me and Ben, we decided, okay, we've got the cash. Let's just go in half and half on it. So we picked them up cash, cleaned them out, and I mean, they were in really rough condition. Like, everything needed to be redone. Like, even just walking through it, you see like drug paraphernalia, condoms everywhere, all over the place, mattresses. So it was pretty clear what the apartments were used for. And we that was another one that my wife listed. We got an offer on it, and this is where the story gets kind of crazy. We were on our last night, I believe, of cleaning them out, and then it was either the next day or the day after that, and I brought the text message from one of the guys that does work on some of the houses I've been doing. He says, "Hey Michael, did you sell the apartments yet? Just seen them on the news. Lady found dead in her car in front of them." My response was,
Oh, boy.
"What?" with 3 A's.
Yeah.
So I'm like, "Oh man, this is crazy." But the thing is, we still found a guy that wanted to buy them. So he purchased them and he fixed them up just super nice and made them like it was like a veterans something,
Sure.
but it went from like just a terrible place to even want to be around to. I mean, he made it really nice.
Now, when you joint venture with someone,
Mm-hmm.
do you define roles and responsibilities up front? How did you and your partner at that time? How did you guys have that conversation?
Actually, we didn't. So it was one of those things where it was like, hey, let's just jump into it. It was pretty simple for that. All we really did was clean them out and listen.
Sure.
So it was a pretty straightforward process, and we had the whole thing done, the duplex and the apartment sold within maybe like a month and a half.
Okay.
And we made over 100% return on it. So it
See,
was
the
a
great
nice
part
chunk of
about
money.
hearing this story, though, is that you saw an opportunity,
Right.
couldn't find a private lender who'd want to lend on it because
Right,
of
right.
obvious reasons,
Yeah, yeah.
and you brought in a partner to where you both paid
Right.
half,
Mhm.
and if you didn't have that partner, nobody would have made anything.
Exactly.
Not too bad.
Not bad at all.
Not too bad.
Yeah.
What would you say real estate has done for you and your family? Obviously, from when you and I first met and spoke and did our podcast 4.5
Right.
years ago, you were brand new. I mean, I can tell it's done a lot for you, but
Yeah.
what are some obvious things that come up that somebody might like to hear about?
I mean, for one thing, I'm a family guy. So me and my wife, like we get to work together. We like being around each other. I know it's not the same for a lot of married people, but we like being around each other. So when we're doing deals, a lot of times she's going with me, or we're at the dinner table discussing different stuff. So I mean, I would say that's the main thing. It gives us our time back to where we're not stuck on 9 to 5 jobs, to where we can work together.
And it's funny because I think having time and freedom is, to me, I mean, at my age where I'm at, that's probably some of the most important things.
Oh, yeah,
Obviously,
definitely.
having children and stuff.
Right, right.
So, I mean, that's excellent. Where do you and your wife see your business hopefully going in the next 2 to 5 years? What does the future look like?
The next 2 to 5 years, short term, what we want to do is pick up at least one buy and hold a month going forward. The more that we learn, going into the rehabs, picked up some funding. Pick up some funding, so we have the financial ability to start closing on some of these things and keeping them. But buy and hold right now is the main goal. So 2 to 5 years, we would definitely like to bring on some more people to help run the business, put out more marketing, bring in more leads, and I mean just keep it pushing. Like I said, we want to own as many of them as we can.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
I have 30 properties.
Yeah. I'm trying to get to that point.
You'll get there fast. Any personal or professional goals?
Personal and professional. Professional, definitely want to build a team so I can offset some of the tasks. Like I said, just between me and my assistant, we get a lot done, but it can be stressful trying to do just everything else yourself. So build a team, definitely. Still looking for somebody to come on and take on the leads. And personal goals, travel more.
Where to?
Oh, man, anywhere with a beach. If it has a beach and it's warm, I don't care.
You're there.
I'm there. Yeah.
You're there. What would you say, words of advice, wisdom to somebody who might be watching, listening to this, and they're new or just kind of getting
Right.
started in real estate? What would you tell somebody who was in your position 4.5 years ago now?
I would definitely say leverage the knowledge of people who have done this business a lot longer than you. I've just been lucky enough to where I've got guys that I can go to for advice, text message them, visit their office, and they'll give it to me straightforward. You don't have to use your money for everything. So I know you've got a funding. You've got a meeting coming up, right?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Okay. Yeah, where were you talking about funding?
Yes.
Yeah. So you don't have to use your money for everything. This new buy and hold. I don't think we're using really any of our money for that.
That's a strategy I've used to buy all of my properties.
Exactly. So a lot of people think that when you come in, you have to have a lot of money, but more so it's more of a just who you know type game. So that, and then think twice before you jump in with family. Like seriously, I broke that rule the first time, but if I had to do it all over again, just knowing how the game goes with contractors, it's a completely different ballpark when dealing with contractors. So definitely vet your contractors and just make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Hold everybody accountable.
right, exactly. So definitely hold people accountable.
Well, man, we're going to kind of close this out. I mean, I truly appreciate your time. It's interesting to kind of get the update
Right,
on what's
right.
been going on now.
Oh yeah, yeah. Good times.
Well, like I
Learned a lot.
said, it's exciting because a lot of people don't. I've seen wholesalers start wholesaling, and I had two guys took my coaching program
Right.
several years ago, and I think within the first 45, it was a miracle. Like the first 45 to 60 days, they closed on a small deal, made about $7,000.
Right.
Then they closed on another deal where they made $20,000,
Yeah.
and then we bought a deal from them, and they made like $23,000. So
Right.
in a real short amount of time, they were killing it.
Yeah.
They're not in real estate anymore.
They just dropped out. Did you know?
It's a long story.
Okay. well,
They're just
oh.
not in real estate anymore.
Right.
So it's, I think the people who do this business right are going to stay in long term.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah. It's one of those things where if you're in it just for the fast cash, it won't last long.
no.
So at some point, you want to go to the next level, do some buy and holds, fix and flip if that's your choice. My main goal right now is the buy and holds, the passive income.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, looking at what you've done in the last, let's just call it 5 years, the natural progression is worked exactly like it
Right,
should.
right.
You start off wholesaling.
Mhm.
You eventually start to get into doing some fix and flips, which leads into
Oh, yeah.
buy and holds.
yeah.
And you still look at doing wholesaling and some fix and flips, but it's a progression
Oh, yeah,
in
definitely.
the right way. So
Yeah,
it's
wholesale-
exciting to see.
Yeah, wholesale, it'll probably always be a tool for me, just not the main goal. The
Yeah.
main goal is to be an investor.
Yes.
So, yeah, I guess if that's the best way to put it.
Well, listen, I appreciate your time. For anybody who has watched or listened to this till the end, Investor Talk Radio, you can download us on iTunes, find Real Estate Wealth Coaching on YouTube and Facebook. Like, subscribe, leave a message, let us know what you think, and we will see you guys in the next episode.